Hi there, I'm Michael Cross, educator, author of the Freedom from Conscience book series, and what I'd like to do is share a little bit of a tutorial on basic Freudian theory. And so what I thought we would do is in 3 different stages we'll deal with the beliefs that Freud, who was the foremost psychologist dealing with personality development, the theories that he had in regards to what makes us who we are and why that can be important if, just for everyday life, as well as, I guess if you're a marketer or a politician. So anyway, let's go ahead and begin. And what I'd like to do is first start with his belief on the development of the human personality. Okay, so essentially, Freud believed that at different stages of your life, there's different parts of your body that gain a higher importance to you. And that can be related to survival. So essentially, remember, in the Freudian model, he believes that humans are kind of like animals, but that we have this extra brain tissue that allows us to have abstract thoughts, be far more creative, and everything becomes very complex. The thing is, that also means that all the instincts that animals would have for survival, aggression, sexuality, and all these kinds of things are still there. It's just that when they meet up with the other sections of the brain, then things start to get interesting, and that's when the higher order thinking starts to try to make sense of the lower order thinking and so forth. And this is where things can get, this is where personality conflicts occur within you. This is where you can have weird dreams that you don't understand and so forth. And we'll get into dream symbols and that sort of thing later when we're dealing with Freud. But anyway, first, let's start with his belief in regards to how you became who you are. First of all, aside from all the stuff like instincts and so forth that you're born with, he believed that there's 5 basic stages of development, and those would be the those would be the oral stage, anal stage, the always look just to make absolutely sure I'm saying this right, phallic stage, latency, and genital stage. So let's just kind of talk about these and what each contributes to the concept of who you are. So anyway, that section of the body that becomes very important is what he called the erogenous zone. And again, a lot of this is metaphorical. Things start happening the same time these areas are very important. And that's why he labeled them the way he did. And also he believes that there's any failure when you're developing through these various stages, then this will stick with you your whole life and can lead to depression, neurosis, anxiety, all manner of problems, and even changes in your personality. And he also believed that the failure of this is called fixation. So if you go through the stage, if you've had too much of a certain thing happening or too little, then that creates problems. Of course, the problem is, too, he doesn't give us an idea of which is the ideal. What is the ideal way that a child should go through, for instance, the oral stage. He just deals with you've got this problem, then your mom must have done too much of this or too little of that. So anyway, let's go ahead and begin. With the oral stage, that lasts from 0 to 1.5 years of age. That is when the child is really concerned with the mouth. Just like a seagull, they see the little orange thing on the beak, and the little baby seagull will peck at that, and then the mother will throw up the food so the baby can eat it. The human baby is going to be attracted to their mother's breast because they're going to want to eat. So this becomes a very strong instinctive drive to live, that they the mouth becomes very important. And you'll notice that when a toddler starts crawling around the floor, they start putting things in their mouth. And everything is mouth, 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 and that sort of thing. So that's why he called the oral stage of development. Now, the important thing about this oral stage is that the mother becomes the focal point of the baby. The baby is always seeking the mother. In fact, it doesn't even really tell its own individuality. Mom is me. So there's an expectation the baby has. You know, when it's hungry, it wants mom and starts screaming because suddenly its world is incomplete. And the mother, of course, will take care of the baby. Now, there's two things the mother could do, and I'm going to deal with both extremes. One is she over spoils the kid. You know, every time the baby does anything, it's like, oh, come here to me. Or ignores the baby. And this creates the fixation I was talking about. Now, again, if there's been too much nurturing or too little nurturing, then as the baby grows and goes past this stage of development, the fixation is there. Its emotional being is going to be affected. And remember, in the Freudian world, the emotion, that little baby, the inner child, as they used to call it in the 60s, is always you. It's just you get smarter and get experiences, but that emotional part is still a baby, essentially. And so if you find that there are people that they want to smoke, they want to have something in their mouth, they overeat, everything is connected to satisfying an oral impulse, then you could say that the child is fixated in that stage, and then the adult is fixated. So Freud would actually say if someone's smoking, they're fixated. This smoking is not necessarily totally because it's a habit that's been promoted by society or the tobacco companies. It's that the cigarette represents the mother's breast, and they are longing for that, something that didn't take place during the oral stage. And so his idea would be to cure the smoking, you would have to find out what the relationship was with the mother, first of all, and then see what can be done about fixing that. And not a situation where you say, well, smoking's bad for you, it will kill you, or all that kind of stuff. In the Freudian model of psychoanalysis, that is not going to cure the problem. Now, the next stage, baby gets past that, that's an anal stage, which we've talked, which basically that's the first thing that the baby associates with being told you have to do this and you have to do that. It realizes it's not part of the mother anymore, and this is where rules come in. You know, go to the bathroom over here. Mom can be very pleased, very domineering, very upset with the child, and that can cause fixation there. And the people that are overly towards pleasing the mother, pressure's been put on now, oh my gosh, I need to please my mom, they become what's known as anal retentives. They have to have everything clean and orderly. They become very critical, very hostile to people. On the other hand, the ones that rebelled and got away with it, they're the ones that can be very disorganized, but they can also be very creative people as well. The boundaries they kind of set on their own, starting at that stage. The next stage that he dealt with was the phallic stage. This is where everything goes into the reproductive organs, and that becomes the center of their attention. Now, the thing is, and this is what a lot of people think, oh my gosh, he believed what? Freud believed that a little boy starts connecting to the mother still. It wants its mom. So does the girl too, and we'll get into that in a moment. The little boy starts to want the mother, but then realizes, because they love their dad, but at the same time, oh my gosh, you know, I want my mom. You know, and I don't want to hurt my dad and throw him out the window or something. what happens is they become very anxious, and they start believing dad might come along if they've seen, let's say, their sister in the bathtub, and she doesn't have that organ down there. They believe that they could wind up being castrated. Remember, you're talking about a 4 or 5 year old individual, so their subconscious is going, dad's going to whack it off and castrate me. So they become fearful and resentful of the father. But then they realize that they cannot have the mother. So therefore, what do? They start, instead of being competitive with the father, they introject or want to be like the father, so someday they'll get a replacement for their mother. And so that's why in the Freudian model, the idea is that boys are looking for their mothers. Girls, he didn't talk about so much, but later he had to throw something that later people called the Electra complex, and that was the idea that the girl realizes the mother cannot satisfy her, so she's going to then seek a father and become her mother someday. Now, the thing that some people Freud believed was if the mother, on the other hand, if the mother was overly critical, overly mean, and the father was passive, a boy could get the idea that the power resides with the mother, and that maybe the nurturing is with the father, and that could actually wind up causing him to be gay later in life, because he's seeking males for nurturing, whereas he sees females as powerful mother figures. Now, after 6 years of age, after this is all done, then you get latency. Latency is where the child goes, okay, none of this, all this stuff gets repressed. And usually they're learning skills, and they want to be with people of their own gender and hang out. Then, after this stage ends around 12 years of age, you get the make sure I do. Yeah, I always get genital and phallic mixed up. The genital stage. This is where everything hits again. It's not so much hormones that cause this behavior in kids. Instead, what it is that the child, all those things that were unresolved in the earlier stages hit them again, but at the same time, they start getting a real interest in the opposite gender. The girls want to find dad. The boys want to find... the boys want to find mom, and, they'll get married, and they will start the whole process over again. And again, that's basically a summary of the psychosexual development theories of Sigmund Freud.